All right.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to episode 150. I feel like I've done this already of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Your host, Nate Maxon, here with you, of course, along with my brother, Aaron.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Aaron, internet issue Maxon.
Yeah. I'm perfectly set right now.
And coming to you live from traffic, Archie Mitchell.
Aaron's stuck on the information superhighway, and Archie's just stuck on the highway. So there you go. But thank you, everybody, for joining us for the 150th edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And let me tell you,
I don't believe that Archie would be stuck in traffic because for like 7 years, I watched Tony Soprano every episode drive from New York all the way through Jersey, and he got there perfectly fine.
Do you know what time of day that was? That was 10 a.m. when everybody's in work and everybody's having a normal time.
Okay, I'm just saying, Tony smoked a stogie. He got through. He got through perfectly smooth.
Nate, you gave me an idea for a show name though that me and Aaron can do together.
Okay.
Archie and Aaron present Life is a Highway.
I like it. Right on the WrestleNet Radio Podcast Network. And everybody, just so you know, while other podcast hosts are big dogging each other and having pissing matches and all that jazz, we are here just providing what I think is the funniest and most entertaining podcast
without a doubt
in the wrestling podcast world, the We Can't Wrestle podcast. So what I want to say to you, the listeners, the ones that listen every single week, the ones that are a part of our Facebook group, et cetera, is just support us. We need your support. Let your friends know about the show. Invite your friends to the Facebook group. It's a good time. We try to give you a good, entertaining product, and we want everybody to be able to enjoy it. So
we do giveaways. We do, trivia. We do everything we can on the pages that we, to bring the fans closer to us. We're not just three faceless guys who are putting on a podcast. We're involved in everything going on.
Yes. And we are not, on one hand, we are not pretentious and try to act like we are smarter than everybody else. And on the other hand, we aren't trying to sell you dick pills every 15 minutes. So there you go.
Wait, do you have any dick pills?
Support? No, and there's a reason for that.
Damn it.
I've been told before that I'm kind of pretentious.
Roll Tide.
It's not that I'm pretentious. It's just that you're probably stupid.
All right. So anyway, ignore what Aaron said. Support the show.
Yes.
Get out there. Let your friends know about the We Can't Wrestle podcast and all the other great shows.
Buy the merch.
Yes, and all the other great shows on the WrestleNet Radio Podcast Network.
You're not.
That being said,
I was fucking with you.
Yes, he was just fucking with you.
I love most of you. Most of you are great.
Most of you are great.
Not you, Chris Wood. But anyway.
Chris Wood has the greatest job in the world. He's the only person that's ever like, nope, I can't record tonight. Be like, I completely understand.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself.
You're playing music at a titty bar. Congratulations, sir. That trumps podcasting.
Yes, it does.
But ladies and gentlemen, this week we are going to be discussing the WCW Monday Nitro show as you voted, the listeners, from September the 1st, 1997. It's an interesting watch, especially contained in a vacuum, but we'll get to that in a little bit because we are going to do something new at the beginning of each show as we go forward. We're just going to ask each other a question. And my question to you, Aaron, first, because this was your idea, are we also answering our own question?
Well, you can if you want.
Okay.
I mean, I have the answer to my question. So that's fine.
Yeah. I think we should do that. But anyway, we're going to each, and nobody's going to know what the other guys are going to ask, but we're going to ask a question, random question of each other.
And it's a wrestling related podcast you people are listening to, but necessarily doesn't have to be a wrestling related question.
Right.
Which I'm assuming the first question we all have is probably going to be wrestling related.
Mine is.
Forward,
mine is.
Yes.
We have to do that.
We might ask Archie what's his favorite potato chip, or something like that. Anyway.
Lay's plain.
Lay's plain. There you go. I'm not asking that one next week. Scratch that off the list. He already answered. So we're going to let Aaron start here and ask his question first to Archie and myself.
All right. And like I said, I have the answer to my question, which is probably going to be the right answer, but that's okay. It's this. The Macho Man, Randy Savage, comes into the WWF. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's different. Macho Man debuts, comes in, and they do the manager, every manager trying to get the Macho Man angle. You know what I'm talking about, guys?
Oh, yeah.
The only thing is Elizabeth is not an option.
Okay.
Who manages Elizabeth isn't an option. Who do you put out of those managers with the Macho Man?
You want to go first, Archie, or you want me to?
It's up to you, Nate. I'm good either way.
Here's who I'm going to pick.
Okay.
He has also just quite recently come to the WWF within a year. He has not yet become completely outlandish, too. I'm putting Randy Savage with Jimmy Hart.
Good choice. Playing
off their history, in Tennessee together and stuff. And like I said, at this point, Jimmy wasn't like he got with the other, and I'm not saying it was bad, but I'm saying you haven't yet got to the point where it's like, yeah, baby, yeah. You know what I mean? So he's not, because I wouldn't want to put that version of Jimmy Hart with Randy Savage, because then those two like that is too much. But I think Jimmy Hart at this point, what is this, late 85? I think Jimmy Hart.
Okay. And I know Archie's going to answer, but Nate, I honestly thought you were going to pick Jimmy. I think that there's a lot of wrestling fan people that are like, I don't want to say like elitist, but whatever, that completely downplay how good, even after he became yeah baby Jimmy Hart, how good he was.
Oh yeah.
People are like, Jimmy sucked after he got to the WWF. It's like, no, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Oh, great.
No. He played his role perfectly. He
made the people that he got with better, and like he'd like absorb their gimmick and shit like that. So yeah. So
he managed how many teams to the tag team titles and always stayed fresh with them. He never made it like a dull, boring time. You know what I mean?
So. Like Jimmy wasn't my pick, and I know Archie's gonna say his, but like imagine the Honky Tonk Man without Jimmy Hart.
Yeah,
right.
Fucking work. Doesn't fucking work.
Right. It wouldn't have worked. You're right. I'm split between two, and I think Bobby Heenan would have been a decent manager for him, but not. Bobby had so many people over time. And whenever he had to split his time between them, they always seemed to get very angry. So I think it would have been a short time with Bobby before Macho Man exploded and would have been like, oh, yeah, you got to spend time with me and me only, Bobby, because I'm the number one. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that would have taken time away from him building with Andre and then with Henning. And so, believe it or not, I think I'm going to go with Slick. Because Slick had that, Randy eventually evolved into this weird talking, but always got his point across maniac. Slick was a weird talking, calm guy. He was very, very well spoken. Even though he was speaking jive, he still got his point across.
Right.
And I think that over time, we could have still gotten to the Twin Towers attacking Randy and gotten to the Hogan helping. Because without Elizabeth, you don't get that. You know what I mean? But Randy's with Slick. Little Wales down the road. He's starting not to feel Slick anymore. He's thinking about going his own ways. The Twin Towers attack. Hogan comes out to help, and then we get to that Mega Powers uniting. So it's that's the way I look at it.
What I was thinking about when you mentioned Heenan, and maybe Savage getting fed up with Heenan and wanting to be the center of his attention, that actually could have led to something kind of cool. Because granted, you're turning Randy in this scenario, I'd be turning Randy Savage face a little earlier than he should have been turned face.
Right.
But what about a program with Randy Savage versus Mr. Wonderful? That could have been that could have been some good shit, man.
It could have, but it might have turned things to him going face too early. Might have not given him his world title. Might have not given him his the push that was there. You know what I mean? We might not have got to see him in Steamboat either. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm worried about. So I think Slick is the choice for me.
All right, you guys want my answer?
Yes. Of course.
Of course you do. And it's hindsight, not I shouldn't say hindsight. It's not knowing that he was going to not be able to manage much longer after this. But if I'm looking at Randy Savage, okay, he comes in. Liz is not an option. The person that I put the Macho Man Randy Savage with is Classy Freddie Blassie.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
That is a good choice.
And the reason is that Blassie is flamboyant. He's a how do I say it? Like a outlandish type personality. But when he would manage somebody that was outlandish, he didn't necessarily have to be that way verbally, but he looked it. So he might have not needed to cut promos for Randy Savage, obviously, because Randy Savage was a fucking promo machine. But imagine like Randy Savage coming out there in those fucking flamboyant robes and all that shit. Like, what better dude standing next to him looks better than fucking Fred Blassie? You know what I mean? And I think if Liz isn't an option, Fred Blassie's the best option. Because he's like, okay, I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to make him the fashion plate. He's going to be outlandish. He's going to have the sparkly robes. He's going to be insane and all this shit.
You're looking at the Sequin Squad. Yeah.
And Freddie would be able to like cut promos with him if he had to. I think Fred Blassie would have been the best option.
Freddie, what do you see out in the crowd tonight? I see a bunch of pencil neck geeks.
Yeah, so do I.
So do I. Thinking.
And then, eventually he sells the contract to Slick. And there you go. Archie wins.
I don't know in 1985 that Fred Blassie is going to get hit in the head with a fucking egg. But I'm looking at I think also like Freddie was obviously established in the WWF, so it would have been like the most established manager for him to be like, look, I took Ken Patera, I took Iron Sheik, I took this guy, I made him this, Like Randy Savage, I'm looking at the group of people, and it's like, yeah, cream always rises to the top. It's Fred fucking
Blassie might have been the only one to give him just the right amount of attention too, because he might have dumped all other clients just to manage Randy Savage. He might have been like, I don't need anybody else. I got Randy Savage.
Right.
Good choice.
I just think Fred Blassie and Randy Savage walking out together would look fucking fantastic. Oh yeah.
So my question for you guys, and we spend, I'd say what would you guys say? 90% of this podcast, we discuss wrestling from the 80s and the 90s. We don't talk a bunch of, every once in a while we delve into the 2000s or what have you. We don't a lot though. So my question is actually concerning the past 20 years. We're in 2021. So we're talking about the end of the, because, you know, it kind of cuts off, if you talk about it, the peak, WrestleMania 17, of what we would say our era. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but to me, that's kind of where our era of wrestling kind of ends and you get into the modern era. But anyway, so my question concerns the modern era, the past 20 years. If you had to pick, what would you say from 2001 till today is your favorite feud / program in wrestling in the past 20 years?
Aaron, you want to go first, or
I need a minute. So we're talking. We're talking 2001.
Let's say from WrestleMania 17 till now.
if it's me and I got to choose, I'm gonna go with the feud that kind of brought me back. Shawn Michaels was on a tear, having defeated Ric Flair the year before at WrestleMania, and then we got that nostalgic 2-year in the making feud with the Undertaker.
Okay.
So
Good
Michaels
stuff.
and Taker,
Very
both matches delivered, and it just didn't end with their matches, because then the two that involved
Triple H. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Shawn Michaels as well. So
they literally told a story for 4 years. Yeah.
4
so
years,
I mean,
right.
yeah, that's a good pick, I think. Aaron?
I guess it would be not necessarily. Could it be not necessarily the feud around it, but the match?
Yeah.
It would be because I love this fucking match. It's Taker Brock in that Hell in a Cell.
Okay.
At No Mercy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like Paulie's on the fucking promo and he's like Ponte, and he's like talking in Latin and all that. It's like, I loved the Brock Lesnar. What year would that have been? Like 2005?
2000 and no, that was 2003, I believe. No, 2002. 2002.
Okay, well, I'll give you that. I loved that goddamn feud. I loved all of it going into it. Wasn't that? And I know it got deadpanned because of the Dark Side of the Ring with Canyon or whatever. Like the "Do you really want to hurt me?"
Yeah,
like that was all involved in that. But I actually fucking loved that feud.
What is the feud?
Taker Brock.
And technically, that feud between Taker and Brock suspended until just recently. When was your last match? Saudi Arabia or something, you know what I mean? They went the whole length of the 2020s after that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And like Arch just mentioned, it's like I didn't even think about that. It's like it was kind of like, I don't want to say it, like Taker and Brock. Like Brock is kind of like the Taker now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he shows up when it needs to be. He shows up when it's an important match, but he's not around all the time. I think, like I said, I think the Taker Brock saga and that match at that No Mercy with that Hell in a Cell, that's my favorite Hell in a Cell match. I know people love Foley falling off of it, and we talked about before
played out
on past show, where if I'm gonna show a non-wrestling fan something, showing Mick falling off of it or whatever. But that to me is the most believable Hell in the Cell match I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah, it was a fight. It was an actual fight.
So that's my answer.
All right, my answer.
That's what I like.
No, it's a fantastic. I totally agree with you. It's fantastic stuff.
It is.
My pick, past 20 years of my favorite program / feud, Miss Guzzi, is from 2008. And it is the feud between Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels.
Good feud.
That was not only my favorite thing of the past 20 years. They were both fantastic. They did great work. Jericho, that's the best work of Jericho's career. That iteration of Chris Jericho is the best Chris Jericho. I mean, I love WCW pompous, like, you know what I mean, whiny Chris Jericho and stuff. That made me a fan, and he's a great wrestler. But my favorite shit from Chris Jericho is that stuff from like 2008 till 2010.
That's short-haired Chris Jericho, right?
Yeah, yeah. And when he hit,
he was basically doing Nick Bockwinkel.
Yeah, really he was.
Yeah, pretty much. Sean's wife took a punch in the face.
Yeah, and me and Aaron were there in Indianapolis at that SummerSlam for that. Yeah, when that went down, and there was some fucking heat in Indy that night, and that was in the modern era of wrestling, you don't get a lot of heat like that. You know what I mean? Nope. And then Jericho in their ladder match when he wins just by fluke, and he's like, yeah. Yeah, his tooth knocked out, and he won, but he looked like the loser, and he was so. I thought those guys did a fucking fantastic job.
Oh, they were fantastic with each other, exactly, and they were great in the arena. It was Sean having come back and actually making the second part of his career better than the first part, and then putting guys over like Jericho and grooming them to be the next guard because he knew he didn't have much longer. It was perfect. It was what should have been done.
And if wrestling was a shoot, that feud would be why Shawn Michaels' eye is crossed like it is right now.
Right. He went through the Geritron.
Yeah, he went through the Geritron.
My second choice is actually, I should say a second choice. Sorry. Feud-wise, I'll get a lot, like, talking about that era, it's like bringing shit back into my mind.
Right.
But, and then we'll get to Archie's question. Sorry, but like my A2 would be, I loved, and it doesn't get talked about a lot because he died, and it was kind of like a weird time in the WWE. But I thought Brock and Eddie had a good feud too.
Yes, they did.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they did. Considering how big Brock was over Eddie, they worked well together.
They had a really great team.
They did. Mm-hmm. All right.
Brock was a man at that time. Sorry, go ahead.
Brock is still the man, in my opinion. He's
still
when he comes
Brock all goddamn day.
Yeah.
I fucking love Brock Lesnar.
So, all right. My question, because our fans at home know my obsession of Vince Russo. Bro, if Vince Russo had not gone to the WCW and stayed in the WWE, would have things been different? Would have WCW maybe made a rebound? Or would have WWF began tanking because Russo was going too stupid and extreme with his storylines? Or was Vince the perfect guard to stop him from going overboard?
I think that no matter what, because before he even got to WCW,
it was failing, right? The boat was sinking.
The ship was sinking, and within the corporate environment of of Turner, no matter what, at that point, I think that if not necessarily getting shit canned like off of TV completely, WCW would have eventually been relegated back to just TBS.
Mm-hmm.
And Nitro was not long for the world. Let's be honest.
Right.
No matter what, who was in charge, Nitro itself wasn't long for the world because the people in charge of TNT didn't want wrestling, and it wasn't doing good ratings anymore. That being said, I also think that once he kind of won his war with WCW, I think Vince McMahon would have ultimately said, all right, Russo, you're part of a committee now. You're part, you know what I mean? Like ultimately Russo, because Russo's shelf life, he proved his shelf life when he went to WCW. He didn't have a shelf life. You know, he was almost expired. He was, if you can't take what well, I guess you did, because I've always said Vince Russo won. I look at AEW and I literally see that Vince Russo won.
Right.
But I think he stays, but he becomes more like he's not the main dude anymore. After Vince doesn't.
You're thinking when he speaks up, everybody's like, yeah, okay, Vince, and then they move on to the next subject.
Especially since ultimately, maybe not necessarily Vince buys WCW, because like I said, maybe it stays within the Turner realm, but I don't think Nitro was going to live much longer. Right. And
or
so ultimately,
PBS in 2 hours.
Yeah, ultimately, whether Vince bought WCW or just put Nitro off the air, he won the war, quote unquote.
Right.
So the question is, if Vince doesn't jump, Vince Russo.
If Vince doesn't jump, what happens? Right.
In my opinion, what happens is WCW still goes out because it was floundering.
Right.
I think Vince Russo would probably still be working there to this day, but I think Vince Russo would be the guy that because this is I'm not smart to the I shouldn't say I'm not smart to the wrestling business. I don't know exactly what went on behind the scenes or all that shit.
Right.
But I think Vince Russo is a guy that you keep on your payroll as being an idea guy.
Right.
Okay, I got this idea. Okay, let's take this guy and this guy, bro, and it starts this way. Russo is a starter. Russo's a starter.
Right. And he's not a finisher.
And people can shit on him all he wants, and he deserves it. But I've always said this in my time talking wrestling with people or whatever. Vince Russo is an idea man. He's a guy that goes, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. He's an idea guy, but he's not a finisher.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you can say, let's take this guy, and this is the angle we go with. And I guarantee that you say, okay, Vince, what's the 3-month arc for it? And then he's going to be like, I have no fucking idea.
Right. And then you get guys that can write it, then you put it together.
So I would keep Vince Russo as my idea guy of, okay, this, and this.
Right.
Where do we go from there? And that's where I keep him around. And that's why I think Vince Russo would still probably have a job with Vince McMahon, because he could say, hey, Vince, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
Right.
And then say what you want to say about him, like a Bruce Pritchard, or somebody would be like, okay, well,
Brian Gewirtz
will end it this fucking way.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't think that WCW would still be around now, but I would think that if Vince wouldn't have jumped when he jumped, he'd probably still have a fucking job. And plus, Vince McMahon likes him.
Yeah.
Now, see, I agree with Aaron for the most part. I do believe that WCW would have still went out of business. Turner Broadcasting would have eventually, AOL would have told no wrestling on any channel, get rid of it, and he would have had to pull the plug. Fine and well. Russo, I think, would have stayed on with WWE for a couple of years. He would have saw the direction they were going, and then his mouth would have gotten too big for his face. And what I mean by that is, when he would have done an interview or something, he might have spoke out of turn. Like, I'm the guy that created, Austin 316, and they're not letting me do what I do, and it's all PG now, and I can't handle this, and bro, I'm the one that told Triple H to call himself the Game. You know what I mean? Because he does it in shoot interviews now. He's always taking credit, but then he falls back on. But if it wasn't The Rock saying my words, then it wouldn't have mattered. Right. You know what I mean? He couldn't just be anybody. So I think he would have boasted too much and put too much on himself that he did everything, which would have eventually pissed off Vince McMahon and caused him to fire him. And I think Russo might have tried to make his own company, much like with TNA, only without a big financial backer, and it might have failed. But I don't see Vince Russo in the wrestling business past 3 or 4 years after WCW goes out of business, whether he jumps or not.
Yeah, and I mean, you could get deep into the weeds, and we won't. But you could get deep into the weeds and talk about the animosity with him and Stephanie,
Right.
and that probably would have been bad for him, and et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Because they did not like each other. Remember, what was it? 2000? Was it 2002 or 2003? Vince brought him back in as a consultant, and it lasted like 2 weeks because him and Stephanie just could not get along.
Right.
You know, I think it was around then. I don't remember, but anyway.
Yeah. Russo claims that he walked into a room and there's like 20 people, bro, talking about stuff, and it's like, what am I supposed to do here? 20 minds working.
Well, Vince, you should, work.
Start working.
Yeah, start working. They're paying you to be here.
Somebody. A fucking waterhead.
Go get some coffee. Do something.
Well, guys, I think we had some good questions for our first Ask the Co-Hosts segment here on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. I look forward to the many in the future. And that being said, we'll get to the meat of the matter here. What we're actually discussing this week, our topic, it was voted on by you, the listeners of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. What episode of a TV show were we going to watch this week and review? You picked the WCW Monday Nitro from September the 1st, 1997. And this is a significant Nitro, and we will get to why in just a little bit. But overall, what did you guys think of this show? Before we start.
Mm-hmm.
It's I know you were going to say significant, but it's significant for a couple of reasons. For one, they go out there claiming it's an Arn Anderson appreciation night, and watching it without knowledge of what's going on, when you get into it, you're like, okay, they're going to show some love to fucking Arn Anderson because he was the fucking man in this goddamn promotion. And you get to the end of it and you're just like, ugh. But
why? Right. You're acting why a lot.
But going in, watching it in 2020 eyes, it's like, okay, I can dig it. And it's not a bad show, but it goes off the rails in a little bit.
Which WCW did a lot back then.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Archie. Before we get into it, what'd you say?
As a younger man, when this show first aired, I was 16. I was in school. I went to school the next day, very upset over Arn Anderson because I'm an Arn Anderson fan, Horseman fan through and through. And I remember getting to school, and all my buddies were, a couple of them were wearing NWO shirts. Did you see what Nash did? Did you see X-Pac was crying? And whatever it was. And I just sat there going, really? This is, it's Arn Anderson. We've all been watching for years before the NWO popped up. And I hated it back then. Mm-hmm. Now I see the funny in it. I understand it was meant to be a joke. But I also understand when I hear people talk about the backstage presence that was going on afterwards, in that Arn Anderson was very upset that was even done. They told him, yeah, we're going to go out dressed like you guys are going to poke some fun. But he never thought they were going to go that far. And I just, much like the Nation of Domination skits with DX and people being offended by them being in blackface, and I feel that shitting on Arn Anderson that hard was uncalled for.
And when we get to the segment, I guess I'll elaborate on why it doesn't bother me as much.
Okay.
Watching it in hindsight, but we will get to that because, like Aaron said, this show is presented as a tribute to Arn Anderson, who just the week before had made the My Spot promo to offer his spot to Kurt Hennig and announced his retirement.
And I have a question about it.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily about the promo, but you watch that fucking video, okay, and it shows. And it's a really well done video. Okay?
Especially for WCW.
For WCW, showing Arn Anderson. Is Arn Anderson And if you guys can tell me I'm wrong, that's fine. But is Arn Anderson the greatest wrestler to never be a world champion?
I put him up there. Yeah, he's in the top 5, I think.
If he's not your number one, he's got to be your 2 or 3.
I'd say it would go a tie between him and Perfect, and you put
But
Jake the
Perfect was
Snake
the
in
world
there.
champion.
That was
Perfect
AWA though. I'm talking about
world
WWF or
champion.
WCW. I'm talking about in the mainstream. But I understand AWA was mainstream for a while, but
But I'm saying a guy that wrapped that fucking strap around his waist and said, "I'm the world champion."
yeah, then I put him as
Arn
number
might
1.
be the greatest dude to never be world champion.
Yep.
The only guy I would put above Arn would be Ted DiBiase for me personally.
I could say they're tied there again.
But I absolutely see what you're saying, Aaron. No, I absolutely agree. He's definitely for me. It would probably be DiBiase 1, Arn 2, and at the time Jake Roberts 3. Not knowing his predilections to whatever, but you know what I'm saying.
Piss and snorting coke.
Yeah. No, I'd say DiBiase 1
too.
DiBiase 1, Arn 2, Jake 3 for me.
Yeah.
Arn would be my number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, DiBiase would be 2. And then I'd say, and like I said, not knowing everything about it, my 3rd would probably be Snuka.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there was a time that Snuka was almost the guy that Vince chose to be his, national expansion top guy. So,
right.
Yeah, there was a time where everywhere Jimmy Snuka went, he was the fucking man. So I can see that too. We are in as we do this show, as Scott Hall likes to call it, Pete Cola. I love hearing Scott Hall always called Pensacola Pete Cola, and I don't know why, but that's just one of the coolest things ever to me.
I think he's from there. Or that
he's from if he's not from there, he's from right around there.
Nearby, yeah.
I wrote down here, it's a very hot crowd, and modern. I don't even care if it's the hottest AEW crowd. Modern wrestling crowds do not reach the level of Monday Night War wrestling crowds.
I agree.
I mean, there are times AEW has some hot ass crowds. I'm not going to lie, Yeah, but they really do.
After 4 seconds.
These fuckers were popping for Jeff Jarrett and Mongo.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Those AEW crowds get worn out, by the end. This crowd, these Monday Night War crowds, people, if you didn't experience it, they were hot from the minute the fucking fireworks went off till the minute the main event was done.
In my opinion, it's because crowds that went to Monday Night War shows had to actually make the money to go to these shows. So they wanted the best experience ever. And when they got it, they wanted to pay homage to it. Where with crowds now, modern, today's crowds, it's you know what I mean? I hate to say it, but it's a lot of rich kids who got their tickets in advance, for mommy and daddy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not real fans. It's people who are just going for the experience.
And not just that. And I do not want to get in the weeds here, but because I made the note of the hot crowd, another thing is back then, as wrestling fans, and I'm not saying there wasn't fan participation. We had you didn't know and all that stuff.
Right.
Back then, when we went to wrestling to watch the wrestlers and watch the show. Modern wrestling fans are used to the fact that they're part of the show.
Right.
I'm
going to get to see Judas tonight. That's
yes, exactly. They're part of the show. They want to, the chants, that this is awesome, holy shit, and blah blah blah. Anyway, they show a recap of the segment with the Horsemen last week with Ric Flair, of course, welling up because of Arn's speech. Which you look at Ric Flair's an emotional guy. And, he always wore his heart on his sleeve during stuff. And
he's losing his best friend.
Yeah.
And Nate, can I ask you this?
Sure.
Do you think, and I know they did the we all know where it's going, where Kurt joins the Horsemen or whatever,
Mhm.
and he's like, "Oh, I'll take your spot" or whatever. Do you think? Because I think it would be, or would have been. Do you think the Horsemen, as a group, would have had more legs if they wouldn't have taken Kurt out of it? Wouldn't have taken Kurt out of it.
Yes, I do because
Because Kurt fit it.
He
And
did.
I love Dean Malenko. And you know I do. I love Dean Malenko. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And you've known me since I was a kid, obviously. You know that I love Dean Malenko. But I think if the Horsemen group would have been like Mongo, Benoit, Flair, Arn, Kurt, like that shit would have worked.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, you gave me his spot. And
Right.
Kurt would have been way more effective being in the enforcer spot than just being another fucking guy in the NWO.
He would have, and this is one of that whole angle. And I know we're trying to talk about this show in a bubble, but that whole angle it was one more of those Hogan and Bischoff shitting on the Horsemen and shitting on Flair. It really was. It was like, oh, this has potential. Fuck it. Let's make Flair look like a fucking idiot again, because they can say what they want about that wasn't their intention. It was totally their intention.
But if they would have just kept Kurt a Horseman, I think that Horseman angle could have went for fucking years.
I think the underlying storyline of it all was, this is just me. 80s, early 90s, the Horsemen were supposed to, and they were, the coolest thing in the world. And everybody wanted to be a Horseman. At 97, the NWO was trying to say, the Horsemen aren't cool anymore. Nobody wants to be a Horseman. They all want to be in the NWO. Because Hogan used to say it daily. Ric Flair would love to join the NWO. That wasn't true, but it's what they were trying to get over, is that the NWO was what was in. So if you were going to join the Horsemen, you were joining the uncool brand. But I still would have been a Horseman.
And their egos made them totally miss the boat on the potential of a stronger Four Horsemen against the NWO.
I agree.
Instead of constantly making the Horsemen, they when they were doing things outside of things with the NWO, the Horsemen looked fine, but they never made the Horsemen look strong against the NWO. They always made them look like a bunch of fucking idiots, and it was a terrible decision. Yep. And it was all about Hogan and Bischoff's egos. That's all it was.
Right. Yep.
But I agree with you, Aaron.
Which you should.
The first match we get out the chute here is Chris Benoit and Steve McMichael, speaking of the Horsemen, against the odd team of Jeff Jarrett and Eddie Guerrero. Did anybody else watch them come to the ring and be like, this is odd? They're coming out.
Deborah being with them.
They're coming out to Jarrett's hillbilly music and
I knew Eddie was trying to turn heel here, but I knew Jeff was still kind of a face. Where the Horsemen, the faces here, it was just a really weird thrown together match.
Mm-hmm. And watching the show in a vacuum, like I said, you don't know. I don't necessarily remember what happened the week before or the week after or whatever to put.
Well, we'll find out when we get my show back up and running.
Eddie and Jarrett together.
I believe what it was, if I'm not mistaken, Nate, Jarrett had just been thrown out of the Horsemen for causing all the rifts with Mongo and Deborah. Rick finally got fed up with him and just said, hey, take him out. And Eddie was just kind of like there. Mm-hmm. Like Jarrett needed a partner, and Eddie trying to get more TV time as this serious heel. They were like, yeah, put Eddie Guerrero with him. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
He's going back to the WWE in a couple weeks anyway.
Well, it's WCW, everybody, and it made no sense.
Mongo is the current United States heavyweight champion, and I have in my notes, is Mongo the worst United States heavyweight champion ever?
No.
like Mongo.
WCW or WWE included?
All of it. He might be the worst
Jordan.
champion ever.
Orlando Jordan.
See, I don't dislike Mongo like you do, though, Aaron. So no, I don't think so.
That's not what I'm saying. Like, I enjoy him as he's entertaining to me, but it's like, seeing Mongo with like the United States Championship on him, I'm like, I don't know if I like that.
No, I don't think he was a bad United States champion. I mean, he was bad in the ring, but he made up for it sometimes here and there, and he did cut a decent promo when he was coherent. He was not the worst U.S. champion.
It's a hard question for me to answer. I'd have to go back and look at the lineage and stuff and try to jog my memory. But
I'm telling you now, Orlando Jordan, in my opinion, is the worst United States champion ever. He held the title 2 weeks.
Did you guys watch the actual meat of the match?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay,
it was
fucking
Benoit,
that goddamn in the meat of the match, that fucking superplex that Benoit hits on Eddie is fucking sick.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, god damn. Like that Pensacola crowd, when they saw it, they were like, holy shit, that was fucking great. And that fucking crowd popped for it. This crowd, I don't want to talk about the crowd too much, but throughout this entire show, this fucking crowd is amazing.
They were behind it. They wanted to be there for everything, And the thing I love is you mentioned the suplex being so heavy looking from Benoit to Eddie. Eddie, Benoit, and Malenko trusted each other so much in that ring that if they had to go a little harder or go a little shoeish, you know what I mean, to snap off a move, they knew the other guy wasn't going to hurt them. It wasn't intentional. It's just, we got to make this match look really good.
Yes.
And they would let the other guy go for it.
The next segment, I'm sorry, Dean Malenko actually comes out during this match and contributes to the Horsemen's victory here.
Yes. He's feuding with Eddie.
Yes. And, I mean, just look at the array of talent that you've got. You got all in one segment here. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about.
Good opener. It's the way most companies should open their shows.
Mm-hmm. So the next segment that we have is we have Scott Hall and Randy Savage, who later on tonight are going to be facing Lex Luger and Diamond Dallas Page in the main event. And they come out, and they're coming to the ring. And I don't know, Archie, how often on the show I've mentioned it, so you may or may not know. I know Aaron does. I am a big fan of Larry Zbyszko, okay?
Right.
I did. He cracked me up here because Tony Schiavone said, I don't know why the show's getting interrupted or whatever he said, and Scott Hall's on the camera, and Larry Zbyszko goes, well, there's one greasy reason. And it fucking popped me, man. I was like, that's great. There's one greasy reason.
I like 80s Larry Zbyszko. I like Larry Zbyszko when he came back to feud with Steve Regal for the TV title.
The shit between him and Raven and TNA is some of my favorite TNA stuff.
Yeah, see, that's what I was going to get to, though. I loved him on commentary in WCW. After that, I kind of was like at a point, okay, Larry, it's time for you to just.
I dug him as the authority figure in TNA too.
I did too, but he didn't have to fight AJ Styles or Raven. You know what I mean? There was never a call for the wrestling gun. He just enjoyed it so much. I can still do it, so I'm gonna.
But God, I love me some Larry. I'm a Larry Land guy, man. I love me some
Larry Land. I live in Larry all day.
But Randy Savage and Scott Hall come to the booth here. And of course they cut the promo. Randy's doing the whole, I'm just lounging on the table, sitting there in his Randy Savage. I'm cool. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, you got, Scott Hall. They're discussing DDP and Luger, which sounds like a totally underwhelming team to me. As I'm
Terrible.
watching this, I'm like,
Terrible team.
But anyway, anything on
Like,
this segment, guys?
it's like you said about Larry. Larry did a great job, and
You could tell him and Scott loved working this deal.
yeah, and you
'Cause
can
they're
also
buddies.
and you can also tell that Scott Hall has or had like so much respect for Randy Savage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, how do I say it? Like, a lot of times, like watching like Hall and Nash with Hogan, it was like they were trying to like almost big dog Hogan, but when either one of them or both of them were out there with Savage,
Savage is a star.
yeah,
Yeah.
Savage
Well,
is a
yeah.
star.
See, I agree with
He's
Aaron.
a fucking man. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we're not going to
Mhm.
big dog Savage out here
No,
because
but
Hall is a guy. Sorry, RC,
no,
but
no,
like
go ahead, man.
Hall's a guy that naturally wants to be the center of attention.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's out there with Randy, like, oh fuck,
That's the center of attention right there.
What I was going to say is that, and Nash and Hall said this countless times in shoot interviews. Hogan didn't know how to stop being Hulkamania. Even in his promos for the NWO, it was like still those Hulkamania '80s promos.
Mm-hmm.
Savage, on the other hand, when he joined the NWO, he became the NWO. He was a bad guy again. He was in his natural habitat. So Hall and Nash were able to play off of him better. Where with Hogan, they had to like calm him down a little bit from going eat your vitamins and savor it. You know what I mean? He was always one step away from going back to I'm a real American. You know,
and that's what I was going to say about Savage. What made him smarter than Hogan was Hogan kept trying to do like the too sweet and do all that shit, you know, and try to be cool. But Savage didn't do that when he was out there with like Nash or Hall. You know what I mean?
Right.
So where I was saying like, oh, like a Scott Hall or Kevin Nash knew that is the coolest motherfucker on camera right now. Randy Savage was smart enough to not be like, I'm not cooler than this 30-year-old guy out here right now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like Savage didn't change the Randy Savage character.
No. He amped it up.
Oh no. Yeah. Because his character was like Piper. Like his character was just him. you know, like
I don't need to try to compete with you motherfuckers because I'm cooler than you anyway. And the guys I'm out here with know I'm cooler than you.
It makes you wonder if they would have ever offered the leader role to Savage instead of Hogan. You know what I mean? Just think of the dynamic. It still would have been big.
Yeah.
Savage was an ex-WWF guy, so it still would have looked the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Okay, I need to take a little break, gents.
No problem. Right.
I'm going to walk into my house.
I'm going to go check on my granddaughter. She's crying. Probably giving her medicine, though.
I thought that was Nate crying.
No. I should be right back. right, I'm back. She's just getting her hair blowed.
Hey, I'll be back in a minute.
Go ahead.
Ugh. Sleep pants. Shit. All right.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Cotter. Oh. All right, that works.
So, how's everything going? Everything been all right the last couple days?
Yeah. Everything's been pretty copacetic. That chick I
That
was
girl
talking
was yeah, you told me she was a
to,
psycho.
she was a psycho. I dodged that goddamn bullet. Jesus Christ.
They always show their true inner self like after a couple of weeks.
Yeah, she was
You
a
know what I mean?
psychopath. Yeah.
I remember I was dating this girl for like, I don't want to lie to you, 4 months. She's like, we should get married. I'm like, yeah, but I just got divorced 6 months ago. I'm really not in the mood to do things like this, whatever. She's like, yeah, but we're going good. I'm like, look, my last wife was a psychopath. If you can promise me you're not a psycho, then we'll get married. She promised me up and down. Aaron, we got married a month later. She turned into a total psychopath. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you lied. Like,
Yeah.
why would you do this? She's like, no, you don't understand. I'm like, no, I do understand. You're a psycho. You've gone split personality on me in 1 month. 1 minute she's crying, 1 minute she's laughing, the next minute she's mad at me, the next minute she's not mad at me. Then she wanted to go to dinner, then she wanted to cook dinner. Like, what happened here? So, needless to say, that was my second divorce.
Yeah. I'd just much rather fucking sit in my goddamn house and drink beer and watch fucking American Pickers.
I understand.
That's what I want my fucking life to be. Jesus
Hey,
Christ.
you're not asking for much.
It's like just try not to kill me in my sleep. and
Right.
just leave me alone.
Be surprised when they find something on American Pickers with me. God damn it.
That's just my main goal. Is just to find a chick that just wants to fucking watch TV and just fucking not talk about anything. Like I
Look, I'm
shouldn't say
sure
it.
you don't mean that. I know what you mean, though. Not get into a heavy rap at 4 a.m. about something that's going to cause an argument. I understand what you mean.
Like I'm not good at fucking conversation. Like I don't want to talk to you right now. Let's just see what fucking Rick is gonna pay for this goddamn fucking pocket
Amico
watch
side, yeah.
dug out of his ass. I just want to see what that's gonna cost. Don't ask me about my feelings.
Is that girl still on the show with them? The old tatted out one?
No.
No? Wasn't that his girlfriend, though?
I think that was the one dude's, I think so.
Yeah, the tall guy.
Yeah.
Man, they must have broke up.
No, that was I think you were sorry, I thought you were talking about the Pawn Stars girl. They had a Pawn Stars there that was like a fucking what are those dancers?
Showgirl?
No, not a showgirl.
Burlesque?
Burlesque. They had a burlesque girl on the fucking Pawn Stars. She was cute too.
No, the girl on American Pickers, she had cheetah tattoo on her chest.
Oh, yeah, she's still on there.
She's still on there. I think that's what I think. Her and the tall guy were dating or married or something.
I don't know. I do stuff to her.
Yeah, I like women with tattoos. I don't know why.
Because it's fucking hot.
It is. It is. I agree. Nate, leave all this in the show.
I'm recording any of that.
Leave this all in the show, Nate.
So the next match on this Monday Nitro is Mortis versus Silver King. And, I mean, the match was good. I like both of these guys. First of all, Silver King is one of my favorite luchadors. Aaron knows that. Yeah. I love fucking Silver King. Fantastic worker. I love his energy, man. Silver King, just like his energy is fantastic.
Yeah, he would run out to the ring like he was getting a world title.
Yeah, he's just like fucking yeah. You're like yeah, Silver King.
I am the Frito Bandito. Let's do this.
Like, I don't know your story, but I dig it, man. And, of course, Canyon is Mortis. The match was good.
Character. I like the Mortis character.
I did, too.
But I find that it only really worked against Glacier because he was there, according to James Vanderbeek or Father James Mitchell, whatever you want to call him
James
nowadays.
Vanderbeek?
Wasn't that his name?
The Dawson's Creek guy?
Yeah, what was his name? James Vander something.
I don't know. He came out too. I don't want to wait for this match to be over.
According to James Mitchell, in the Dark Side of the Ring, they created the I'm sorry.
Vandenberg is what you were looking for.
All right, I wasn't that far off. According to him, the Mortis character was only created to destroy Glacier. So it makes you wonder, why was Mortis fighting anybody else?
Yeah.
You know?
Why was the name of this episode? The name of this episode is going to be The Sinister Minister, James Vanderbeek.
Why wouldn't a Mortis been Titanic?
What?
Why would have Mortis been Titanic if Glacier was going to defeat him?
Water's cold, brother.
Yeah.
But
Mortis goes over here.
That was a lame joke, but I actually had an honest question.
Mm-hmm.
It's been said that if the NWO angle wouldn't have like Nash and Hall left and it all came together that Blood Runs Cold was what they were going to go with. 1996. All of us are kind of similar age. I'm 38 now. So in 96, Nate, I would have been how old? 14?
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah, 13.
13.
I was
Nate,
I was
you
15.
Archie was 15. Nate, you were 27.
I was actually 19, but thanks.
Okay.
18, 19.
So the NWO doesn't happen. Would this a Blood Runs Cold angle interest you?
No, going up against what the
No.
WWF was presenting me in fall of
No.
'97. Fuck no.
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 Why did I? Yeah, my first thought when I saw Glacier come out was, "Goddamn, he's Mortal Kombat. It's Sub-Zero."
Mm-hmm.
If they would have had a list of characters, though, like it would have been Glacier, Mortis, Rabbit, we'd be like, really? Did they buy the Mortal Kombat rights, and is this why we're getting this? And if they would have tried for that to take over WCW like the NWO did, no, I wouldn't have bought it.
No. Mortis calls out the Faces of Fear, well, Vandenberg, and because they're going to be facing off at Fall Brawl with Mortis and Wrath. And Faces of Fear chase him off.
Probably a really good match, though. The Faces of Fear versus Wrath and Mortis.
I don't remember. We'll have to.
I don't know. Yeah, we have to go back and
watch I haven't watched that Fall Brawl in a couple of years, probably.
Yeah.
But so that's it for that segment. It is what it is. They show us footage from last week with Eric Bischoff talking shit about Sting.
No, you skipped over something.
What did I skip?
You skipped over my note. It says 1997. Aaron loved the Nitro Girls.
Oh, yes, the Nitro Girls.
Yes.
Fucking Christ.
Yes. Spice. Fire.
Spice. That's actually in my notes. If Kimberly Bacon, which is that not the best fucking name for the second hottest chick in wrestling history ever? Kimberly Page is the second hottest chick ever in wrestling, ever. And her last name is Bacon.
That's really her last name?
Her actual name is Kimberly Bacon.
Bacon.
God damn.
Damn.
Yeah. But it's in my notes like a few times because they keep popping up, and something kept popping up because I was like 1997 Aaron loved him some Nitro Girls, and Spice was fantastic. And Fire would be third on my list. I like
Che. I like Che.
The little Asian one, she was cute.
Yeah, the little Asian one, yeah.
Kevin Nash apparently tore that up from a couple of
All right.
We'll have to ask him on the next meet and greet if he was ever with Che.
Eric Bischoff from last week. The deal with Sting. They're heating up, obviously, till Starrcade of 1997. So we get that recap because we're leading into, is Hulk Hogan going to accept Sting's challenge?
Right.
Which at this point he needs to, because we've done this for a year, and we all know hindsight they're gonna fuck it all up. But anyway, getting to it was fun.
That's actually in my notes. Is Crow Sting the biggest botch in the history of wrestling?
Oh, absolutely. Starrcade 97 had the potential to, and the aftermath of it had the potential to make sure that they were still going to win this war for another year to year and a half. And they totally boned it. I mean, the timing was great for Vince, bad for WCW. They screwed it up just as Vince was heating it up,
Yep.
And that's there's no doubt that's one of the, if not the biggest letdown or the biggest, what'd you say, botch, Aaron?
Yeah, it's the biggest botch in wrestling history.
Yeah, as far as a booking decision goes. Up next on this show, only on Nitro, back in the 90s, folks, in your undercard, are you going to get a fantastic match between Dean Malenko and Yuji Nagata that isn't even fucking advertised.
Right.
Like, WCW is like, hey, he's two of the best wrestlers in the world. We're just going to throw it out here unadvertised. Have fun, guys.
Enjoy it, P-Cola.
But yes, Malenko and Yuji Nagata have a really good wrestling match here, which Jeff Jarrett costs Dean Malenko the match, and Yuji gets the victory.
And the only note I have on it is, and I don't want to like bore you guys or make the show last longer. It's a random thing. It just says, because this is how I do my notes. I read every match and I just kind of like put little brackets on it. Thoughts on Mike Tenay?
I think that here's my opinion on Mike Tenay. I think that as the analysis man in the WCW booth, I like Mike Tenay. I was never a big fan of his as the lead announcer in TNA. I like Mike Tenay. Don't get me wrong. I do. I dig him. But I think he's better as the other guy, the other straight guy with the facts, you know? I was never a big fan of him as the main play-by-play guy.
Tony Schiavone said it best about Mike Tenay when he went to TNA in the early days and they were cutting shoot promos on each other. He said, all you ever wanted to do was say the names of the moves that the luchadors were doing. You didn't care about the actual match. You just wanted to say the names and prove you knew more about wrestling than everybody else. Meanwhile, there's a guy named Scott Hudson at home who could have did your job better and for less money.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the way I feel about Mike Tenay, too. It was always about, Honeycon Rana, La Maestra Straight. And it was like, we get it, Mike. It's a great move, and we know what it's called. Mm-hmm. You don't have to call it out every time. Tell us what they're doing in the ring, you know?
Right.
Not just that one move. You know what I mean? So, he was good, but he wasn't great.
I just was curious because I think Mike was he's a step over, and I'm a big fan. I like Tony Schiavone. I know people dog Tony Schiavone, but I think he was a step over Tony, but like an understep under Jim Ross. So I think we're kind of somewhat on the same wavelength, but just
I like Tony with Jim Ross on AEW more than I would have liked Mike Tenay with Jim Ross. Mm-hmm. So I have to give the nod to Tony.
All right.
The next match on this show is my favorite match on this show. It is La Parka versus the Ultimo Dragon.
The Nitro Girls danced before that, by the way.
Yeah, actually, I do have that on my notes. Nitro Girls.
Did they change outfits, or are they still in the same outfit from before?
They changed. They always change.
But not always.
Awesome. It was always awesome. Is that not seriously? Is that his? And I'm not going to talk about. I'm not going to sound like a fucking pervert here. Or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of heavy breathing going on in this show.
and I'm not seriously. I'm going to be serious. I'm going to be serious here for a minute.
All right, Lance.
Is the Nitro Girls not one of the best goddamn ideas in the history of wrestling?
It was a good idea. Yes, I agree.
We're going to do a 2.5 hour show. Okay, like what's something that everybody says about wrestling shows now?
Too long,
and nothing happened. Right?
Mm-hmm. Nothing
happens between these commercial breaks. So Eric Bischoff was like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna have to film these shows. So during the commercial breaks, why don't we have like Kimberly and all these fucking cheerleaders go out and shake their ass and tits in front of these people and keep them entertained for 2.5 minutes.
We need dancing girls.
Yeah, the fucking Nitro Girls is a fantastic fucking idea.
I had no problem with it.
Like, how are you gonna come back from a break and see like Kimberly, Spice, Che, Fire, and some other broad going, bah, there's her titties, and not have everybody be like, yeah. And I'm not
You're
even
right.
trying to.
I agree.
It's a great fucking idea.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
I
fucking
agree.
idea. Oh well, no, well in WWF, Nate and I, we've gone to house. Nate, you and I went to fucking TV tapings where we just sat there in the dark and nothing was happening.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody would have been shaking their tatas in front of us, we were like, "Yeah, this is
Well,
great."
Raw did have the Raw girls for the first couple seasons with the crowd signs.
Yeah, but it was Vince and he
The Rossetti sisters.
But like you were saying about La Parka and Ultimo Dragon, it was a great match.
And it's not only my favorite match on this show, but it has my favorite spot on this show.
Okay.
They start this match out. La Parka cracks fucking Ultimo Dragon with this front hand slap that knocks him down. And then Ultimo Dragon does that kip up spot where he's like, do you know what I'm saying? Like he's crab walking, but he's kipping up, and it's amazing. Like the athleticism, and then these two guys just go to town, and it's fantastic.
Oh, it is. Zabisco makes like a bunch of Japanese jokes too. Like it's funny because he's like, I don't know. He keeps saying that Japanese people have 7 hearts.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I picked up on that too. I actually have it written down here. I was like, "What's with Zabisco and the hearts?"
You can't put the Ultimo Dragon down because Japanese people have 7 hearts. What?
What mythos is he reading or looking at that he's? Yeah, I don't know.
Like I remember Alien Nation, that movie with fucking James Caan. He had to like double tap the aliens because they had 2 hearts and shit. But I don't remember Japanese people having 7 hearts. I don't know what that was about.
There's a chair shot here that backfires on La Parka and Sonny Ono, and that gives the Ultimo Dragon obviously the opportunity for the win. He and Sonny Ono do a little kicking of each other, which they were Sonny was Ultimo Dragon's manager, right, when he had the 8 championships or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep, the J Crowd.
And so now they're feuding, and I'm sorry, Ultimo Dragon gets the Dragon Sleeper on Sonny. I forgot to mention that it was the prior, I think, Saturday night or something, where Sonny had humiliated Ultimo Dragon by putting a mock Dragon Sleeper on him. But yeah, ultimately this match was great. I'm a big fan of both guys. They did a great job in this match.
They did.
How do you guys feel about Sonny Ono?
I think Sonny Ono is one of those things where
person, probably a great person.
Here's my deal on the Sonny Ono thing. Already by 1997, the world was starting to grow up as far as stereotypes and stuff goes.
Right.
You know, like we watch wrestling from the 70s or the 80s, the 60s, the 50s, even the early 90s. Stereotypes are a thing. You know, you got Mr. Fuji. I mean, it's the way wrestling was. It's how wrestling was booked. It was the evil, villainous Japanese, you know. But by 97, Sonny Ono with the camera playing the stereotypical Japanese tourist, et cetera, probably not great. I don't dislike Sonny Ono. I found him to be entertaining. I know a lot of people shit on him. I don't find it.
Well, shit on him? He probably paid
Huh?
for it.
and took pictures with his Polaroid.
Fucking Che. Nitro girl.
I had no problem with Sonny Ono back in the day. I mean, yeah, he was a little overdone and definitely a stereotype, but they got away with it up until he was fired and decided to do a racist lawsuit against WCW.
Yep.
So
him and what hard work Bobby Walker, I think, was part of that too.
And at the time that they tried to make this lawsuit and say WCW isn't giving anybody a minority a chance, like 6 of the champions in WCW were minority.
Yeah,
you had the Booker T, you had Prince K, you had this guy. It's like, who aren't we giving a chance to here, Sonny?
That was not by mistake. Like, Turner was like, "Oh shit, we're racist. Put the belt on Booker."
The next match on this
Booker didn't deserve it.
Right,
it wasn't a mistake.
The next match on this Nitro,
or a coincidence. Sorry, coincidence is what I meant.
The next match on the show is Glacier against Buff Bagwell, along with Vincent, and we do want to send our condolences out to Buff Bagwell on the loss of his mother, Judy.
Yes.
It's a sad deal, and I don't look forward to ever having to deal with it myself, although we have to deal with it in life. But R.I.P. Judy Bagwell, and our condolences go out to Mark Bagwell. So
yes,
most definitely. Now, that being said, it's funny because I'm not even saying this because of the current circumstances. I was like, damn, this match actually had some heat. And like, the people were into this match on this show. And like I said, this crowd was hot the whole time, but these guys kept them interested. There's not a lot to write home about,
but it was a decent match. It was better than what we were seeing in recent weeks, leading up until this Nitro. So
the thing I wrote was, like you said, they had a good match, okay, and what I wrote was Ray Lloyd, who is Glacier, is or was actually not a bad professional wrestler.
No, he wasn't.
Like, bell to bell, Ray Lloyd was pretty goddamn good. And if he wouldn't have been settled with that fucking gimmick, I think Ray Lloyd could have been a bigger star than he was.
Oh, definitely.
Did they die?
Definitely. Wrong time and wrong gimmick.
Yeah. And I've knocked Buff a lot in the past or whatever, but what I will say is that Buff had actually a really good finisher. That Buff blockbuster is a goddamn finisher, and I think these guys actually had a pretty good quote unquote TV match. And I had no problem with this fucking match. The only thing I had a problem with was fucking Virgil because he's useless.
Generally, yeah. I think. Oh, sorry. Hold on. I gotta write this down. We're talking about a segment he was on. I gotta send him $20.
Damn it! Shortchange him this week.
You want my goddamn DQ coupon.
For half off. He doesn't get a full coupon.
Up next, we get a video featuring Roddy Piper and what's going on with him. To be honest with you, I didn't pay attention to it. I'm sorry.
But it's the same video we've been getting. He wants to fight Hogan again. He's back in WCW. He loves his family. Nothing different.
Next up, it's Liz Mark Jr. against Viano 4, along with Viano 5. And
this is where you were talking about loving Ultimo Dragon. You know, I love Ultimo Dragon. out of like, or no, La Parca. You talked about La Parca being a luchador that like a lot of people don't talk about or whatever. Lismark Jr. was actually really fucking good.
Yeah.
I was about to ask you guys, did you see how jacked he got a couple years later when they did that Lucha Libre USA on MTV?
Yeah.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah.
He got jacked and he was the main star of that show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So yeah, he could have been something big in WCW if they wanted him to be.
The meat of this match is fine. The Villanos do the switch up, the switch them up gimmick. I'll call it the mass confusion. Yeah, harkening back to the bees. But anyway, Lismark does actually wind up going over with a moonsault here in this matchup, pinning the wrong Villano, I guess, if you would say that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
Right. I never understood something about the Villanos, though.
Okay.
Where was Villano 1, 2, and 3? And my second question is, why did they have them wrestle with mask as the Villanos and then without mask as the Mendozas?
Yeah.
Like,
I remember,
I
remember back when what was it? Did he wrestle as Ray Mendoza?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember watching that Nitro back in the day and not realizing, obviously back then, that it was one of the Villanos and going, where'd this old Mexican dude come from?
The only reason I
talked
recognized
about that a while back.
Remember? The only reason I recognize it is because on his trunks, when his singlet got pulled up, underneath on his underpant part was the 4 for the Villano 4. 2 weeks later, when he came out with the mask, I'm like, wait a minute, that's Ray Mendoza. And I'm like, I always thought that they weren't allowed to take their mask off. So what the hell was it with them making them wrestle without masks? Like, why?
It's goofy. WCW, though.
Because they were in Pico, and when you're in Pico, it doesn't matter.
You're right.
Picola.
Picola. What happens in Picola
stays in Picola.
Stays in Picola.
Unless it's herpes.
That should have followed you home.
Up next, Mean Gene. I find Lex Luger's like my most. You know how they say, during the heyday of Cena, when he was getting the boos and such, they played it up as he's the most polarizing figure in pro wrestling ever. My personal most polarizing figure in wrestling ever is Lex Luger. Because there are times, especially early 90s, I dig Lex Luger.
Shit.
And then there's this Lex Luger.
Yeah. Do you want to know what my actual notes are?
What's that?
It actually says Mean Gene interviews Lex Luger. Parentheses, but something else happens, but BUBT. Like this is but.
The problem I had with Lex Luger here was the amount of cheers he was getting at this point, like between 96 and 97. And I think he was only getting these cheers because there was nobody else on the roster as a huge baby face. So he fell into that spot. You know what I mean? And it made no sense. If Sting would have been there, Luger wouldn't have gotten the pop or the push he was getting, in my opinion.
Luger was so fucking boring.
He was.
Yeah.
Fucking boring. I'm not even saying that he was terrible. I'm just saying, he was fucking boring.
I agree. Well, he's
like oatmeal with no fruit in it.
I like it, Aaron. I'm going to use that next time someone's really boring around me.
He's just that plain steel cut oatmeal.
Yeah.
I understand that you're nutritious and you're going to get me to where I need to go.
You're nutritious, but you're not delicious.
Yeah. I'm going to spit you out on the curb, you piece of shit.
All right. Well, the less said about this interview, the better. And then Disco Inferno in the ultimate heel move in the show chases off the Nitro girls.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
97 Aaron was like, you bastard.
That's what I'm saying. It's the ultimate heel move. He chases off the pretty girls.
Yeah. How am I going to finish now?
Thanks a lot, Gilberty.
Yeah. If somebody walks in now, they're going to be confused about my thought
You know,
process.
it always seemed to me that Glenn Gilberti had a problem with women. So that maybe, just maybe, he was in the closet because he hated that Jacqueline came into WCW and that they eventually wanted him to fight her and put her over. Right? He would always be the one to chase off the Nitro girls. And he always said they were useless in shoot interviews. He'd constantly say, we could have just had a match going on during the break. We didn't have to have them.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't like any of the women in WCW. So, I don't know.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
We get a matchup next between Alex Wright and Hugh Morris.
So why did this go chase them off then? Wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
What?
I was going to say, Nate, you missed the Larry Zbyszko moment in there.
I guess I did.
Because you were talking about Disco came out and ran off the Nitro girls, and then Alex Wright came out, and then they were dancing, and Larry Zbyszko was like, "Oh, what are these? The Nitro boys?"
I did miss that. I don't even know.
Oh, God. That would have been good.
Because they were dancing like really close to each other, and that's what fucking Larry said. He goes, "Oh, great, it's the Nitro boys."
That would have been a hysterical storyline if they would have gotten those two and then like 3-4 other dancing wrestlers, La Parka, Tokyo Magnum, one other guy, and introduced them as the Nitro Boys. That would have been hysterical.
And like Tony Schiavone popped. Like it wasn't like a fake laugh.
Right.
When Larry was like, "What are these? The Nitro boys?" and fucking Tony lost his goddamn mind.
Well, this match between Alex Wright and Hugh Morris is a really good match.
It's too fucking long.
I didn't think it was too long. I enjoyed watching the match. What I didn't like was the fact, Disco Inferno comes out to get involved in this deal, and he winds up cracking Hugh Morris. And the referee literally is looking at him. The referee is literally just like, I don't remember if it was Billy Silverman, but anyway, he just literally watches this happen and does not call for the bell because that's not supposed to be the finish.
We've seen referees disqualify people for less. Just stepping out of the curtain, disqualification, interference. This was not called for.
No. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the match, but that was like, oh, fuck. That's a terrible referee.
I kind of like when a ref sees something and it's just like, whatever.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to turn around. I wanted to watch it happen. I didn't want to turn around.
Oh, shit. So next up, we get a video highlighting Sting.
And I put this in my notes because I heard this on something before. Do you know that Sting video? Do you know who that was talking about it?
No.
Eric, if I'm lying, I'm sorry. But I've heard, from what I understand, I've heard Eric Bischoff, or I've read that Eric Bischoff said that kid reading that was Garrett Bischoff.
No shit.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like he had his kid like read that shit.
That's a cool little factoid.
Garrett might have had a good career in voiceover then, or background voicing. He didn't want to become a member of Aces and Ace.
He was also the kid in the WCW magazine commercial.
Really?
Where Sting turns into like a kid and then turns into a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was Garrett Bischoff too.
The next thing on this show Damien comes out for a match with, believe supposed to be Stevie Richards, and Raven DDT's Damien on the outside. Stevie Richards does a little funny thing with CPR. I mean, it is what it is, and pins Damien, and that's the end of that. I don't have any comments. I have nothing to say.
No. The only comment I have is I honestly forgot that Stevie Richards was in WCW.
Really?
Yeah, he wasn't there for very long.
Yeah, he was there for like 2 weeks. I forgot about that.
I think it might have been more like 2 months, but yeah, he went back to ECW very quickly.
And up next, we have a Lee Marshall 1-800-COLLECT talking about next week. Nitro's going to be in Milwaukee, and you always got to love the weasel jokes.
Right.
This one was one of the worst. We have cheese heads, not wheeze heads. And I was just like, Jesus Christ.
You gotta wonder, did WCW tell him to do this, or was he doing it on his own? Because it used to irk Bobby. It really pissed Bobby off sometimes.
Yeah. I just remember Bobby like, what has this guy got against me? What did I ever do to Lee Marshall?
You Tony the Tiger, you piece of shit.
And then we get Mean Gene interviewing Big Bubba.
Well, don't forget the pointless fireworks.
Yeah. I didn't even write it down, but you're right. It's absolutely pointless.
Come on,
it was like they wrote the entire show, and they were like, "We still have $750." What are we supposed to do? Should we pay the boys? And Eric Bischoff was like, "No, blow it up." And they did. It wasn't even, we're going into hour number 3. They were just like, we're going into an hour and 27 minutes. Here's Mean Gene interviewing the big boss man. What the fuck?
And Ray Traylor is what he's going to now start to call himself, as he has have his 6th or 7th iteration in his career in WCW.
Yeah,
I'm a man.
He woke up out of his coma. That's essentially what he said. He said that
essentially.
He said I was walking through the parking lot, and all of a sudden I got hit in the head, and then I woke up, and I was just like, God damn, I guess I'm Ray Traylor now. That was the extent of the promo.
He was flip-flopping. It was still a little while before he would pop back into being himself. You know, it was tough to watch here.
Yeah.
NWO, not NWO, Dungeon of Doom.
He was like, I was the guardian angel, and I was the boss, and I was the Big Bubba, and now I'm just Ray Traylor.
Now, essentially, isn't that what John Tenton did too when he cut his hair?
Yeah.
That I'm not an avalanche. I'm not a shark. I'm a man.
I'm not a shark. I'm a man.
But
he only had half a head of hair, though.
Right. Half a hair and half a beard.
But the big boss man in WCW was not good.
They wasted him.
They wasted.
There was really nothing they could have done with him, though. In all honesty, like he wasn't going to be world champion or the United States.
Well,
but I always thought he could have had a partner and been a tag champion or a TV champion.
Well, I'm not saying he should have been like world champion or whatever, but I just think that WCW dropped the ball on Ray Traylor, and what proves it is that the minute he went back to Vince,
it made him big.
Made him a fucking star.
Yep.
Like the minute he got back to Vince knew exactly what to do with him. And then when dun-dun-dun-dun, it would hit that entire fucking building with like boo. And it wasn't like X-Pac go away heat or heel heat.
Nope.
It was just like this guy's a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like he's a
He
fucking
fed Al Snow his dog.
yeah, he fed dog to Al Snow. He's fed Al Snow his dog. He fucking
He ruined the Big Show's father's funeral.
yeah.
Yes.
He fucking did all this shit.
He made
Like-
us watch the Kettle from Hell match.
WCW dropped the ball on Ray Traylor.
They did.
Like Ray Traylor is, and you guys might be like, what? I think Ray Traylor is the equivalent of Vader going to the WWF.
I could agree with that.
Like this could have been one of the biggest things you fucking had, and you got it, and you did nothing with it, and you fucked it up. It's the same way with Vader going to the WWF.
Bubba beats Prince Iakea here. And what?
Ray Traylor beats Ray Traylor.
Like Ray Traylor's like, I'm Ray Traylor now. I'm gonna go do my thing.
And I said Bubba. I'm sorry.
But that's not even the funny thing. That's not even the funny thing. But I'm Ray Traylor. I'm gonna be Ray Traylor now. I'm gonna go beat Prince Iakea.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna call him Ray Bubba. He beats Prince Iakea. And up next, the infamous. The reason that this particular episode of Nitro was on Aaron's poll, because this is. I'm sorry. That sounded dirty.
That's where the Nitro girls were there.
But anyway,
you nasty prick.
We have the infamous segment with the NWO being X-Pac, Kevin Nash, Conan, and Bagwell.
Love Bagwell.
Recreating or parodying last week's segment with the Four Horsemen. Now, here's what I'm going to say, and where I'm going to actually, first of all, and we aren't going to go into a huge amount of detail. Everybody's seen the segment. Everybody knows what it is. I do have a couple of key things that popped me, but 24 years later or whatever it is, Archie, what's your opinion of this segment?
I hated it. I still hate it. And the reason being, my main reason for it all, there was no get back for the Horsemen from this.
Okay.
Hennig eventually turns and goes to the NWO. He slams Flair's head in the cage. The Horsemen disappear for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no get back. So like you mentioned earlier, this was Bischoff and Hogan shitting on the Horsemen again, but it was also like they were making them go away. It was them pushing them out of the limelight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my problem with it.
Aaron, what's your opinion of this segment?
My opinion of this segment is it's funny as hell. Like anybody that tries to tell you it's not a fucking funny segment is fucking lying to you.
Conan as Mongo is hysterical.
Nash did a great job. It's kind of what Archie said. That is my only blowback is that there wasn't a retaliation.
And Ric Flair,
and I'm not even saying like, oh, next week. I'm saying they should have done that segment, and there should have been immediate retaliation.
right. Okay, so Arn Anderson, to my knowledge, has never really gone on record. Okay, on this segment, Ric Flair has, and Ric Flair has said that him, Arn, the Horsemen, in all of them were in the building that night. None of them had a problem with the segment. The problem they had was their opinion was at the end of the segment they should have come down and fought off the NWO, which I agree with. Right. However, I'm watching this segment in a vacuum. I tried to watch this show in a vacuum as I'm just watching this show. This segment is fantastic. It's funny. I mean, the same fat broads that have been following the Horsemen around for 20 years.
My
And
spot, your spot, my dog spot, liver
yeah,
spot. It's fucking great.
fucking Waltman with the tears, and like Archie said, Conan, even Conan as Mongo, because of the
Just keeps
ridiculousness
lifting
of
up the
it.
4 fingers. That's all he's doing.
And this is the best thing Buff Bagwell ever did. It would be an honor. Like, I think overall as a segment, and especially when we're talking about late 90s pro wrestling, respect is out the fucking window anyway. Let's be honest. And we were all watching, and we were all laughing, and we were all. It's like I always say about the Attitude Era. As a matter of fact, it's bad. It was probably bad for the business. It's probably the worst thing that ever happened to the business in hindsight. But at the time, god damn, it was entertaining. So that's where I see what you're saying, Archie, and especially as a fan of Arn Anderson, I can see what you're saying. But I think overall, at the end of the day, did Flair and Arn?
It got the job done. It got the job.
Well, and also in the mid to late '80s, are you pretty sure Flair and Arn big dogged some motherfuckers too in politics?
Oh, I'm sure.
And you know, it's like it's wrestling in general. It's Spade calling spade a spade. You know what I mean?
Okay,
I'm not arguing that.
Okay,
it's like Vince McMahon saying Ted Turner's put me out of. You know what I mean? Ted Turner's trying to put me out of business.
Okay, well look at it this way. It's like it's not the same thing, but look at all the shit that Jim Cornette would do. Like when he went out and dressed up like Baby Doll or whatever, or not dressed up like Baby Doll, but dressed up like Jimmy Garvin and had the fucking Baby Doll poster, and she was a dog and all. It's no different. But why it's different is there wasn't the immediate comeuppance of it.
Right.
Like
that is my only
led to something.
That is my only dig on this entire segment, is that it neutered the Horsemen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It made the Horsemen geldings or whatever.
If they would have been able to come out with chairs and chase off the.
Not even like Arn should have, honestly. Arn Anderson should have spine busted Kevin Nash Anderson.
Well, Nash is a bit big, maybe a Waltman or a Mongo, but or Conan. But see,
you get what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
I don't think
there should have been immediate comeuppance.
I don't think. Now, here's where I disagree with you. I agree with comeuppance, but I think for the purposes of this show, if we're talking about this show itself, on this show, the Horsemen just come out and chase off the NWO. I agree with you.
One of them needs to get dropped.
Not on this show. They get run off on this show.
No, on this show, one of them, whether it's Nash, Hall,
but not by Arn. You do the Arn drop on pay-per-view.
Okay,
is what I'm saying.
Somebody. Okay, Benoit. Mm-hmm. Benoit gets fucking 6 and a goddamn cross face, and rips his fucking nose off.
Which is even funnier because you can get a close up of him with the fake tears coming down his face.
Right.
Like Benoit rips fucking Six Flair's nose off and shoves it up his ass or something. You know, something needed to happen.
This is where I feel right. This should have been the Horsemen chase him off. The next week, the Horsemen beat down a member of the NWO the same way the NWO beat down Arn, because that's what you were saying was the cause for Arn's injury anyway. So now you take out a member of the NWO. Now, if you weren't leading to Hennig turning, then you have the Horsemen win at Fall Brawl to continue the feud, with Arn Anderson laying a spinebuster on one of them and getting the Horsemen to win. But if you were going to leading to Hennig turning anyway, this didn't need to be done. That segment, in my opinion, should have been done after Hennig turned, and then this way Hennig's involved.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It just didn't. It paid off and it sold the pay per view, but then your ending of the pay per view was murdering Ric Flair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was legit murder of Ric Flair. You know.
And at the end of the day, like I said, leading into it, I don't think Kurt should have ever turned.
I agree.
I don't either.
Kurt turning and the Horsemen not getting any kind of fucking retribution for this fucking funny and great angle was mismanaged bullshit, in my opinion.
Which abbreviated mismanaged bullshit is WCW, ladies and gentlemen. So the rest of this show, we're going to fly through it because after this segment, a lot of what happened here, I kind of lost interest. I was still watching. I was still taking a few notes here and there. We had this crazy ass thing with
like cruiserweights.
Yes, like this
and Scotty Riggs.
Yeah, this crazy thing was kind of nutso. Chavo Guerrero is supposed to have a match against Chris Jericho, I think.
Yeah, for the Cruiserweight Championship, and Eddie's mad because he didn't fucking do something on Saturday night, and then all of a sudden Scotty Riggs shows up, and Scotty Riggs isn't even a cruiserweight. He's a grown ass man.
Yeah, I don't know. Like and all these different luchadors come out in cruiserweights, and there's this crazy thing where they're all throwing each other over the top rope and shit. And I was like, is this a match? What is this? What has happened here? I had no idea what the fuck was going on in this segment.
You know what the coolest thing out of all of it was, though?
What's that?
When Billy Kidman just popped off a shooting star press off the apron.
Kidman was like, look at me.
Kidman was just like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. He's
I'm making my fucking way tonight.
Yeah. Fucking Bischoff's going to recognize me.
The next segment, Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan.
This is very long too.
And what's that, Aaron?
It's very long. Like
yes, it is.
Long.
Yes. Just talking shit about Sting and J.J. Dillon. And my notes. Essentially, they lure Dillon out to the ring because they say they're going to give him their decision on whether Hogan will fight Sting, and then they beat up J.J. Dillon.
Again, another fuck you to the Horsemen.
Yeah.
That was another middle finger to the
Horsemen. Bischoff did spray paint bite me on JJ. I'm sorry. Like, that's one of my favorite Bischoff things. Bite me. Like, I don't know. I love it. I think it's great. But anyway, I think Hogan accepted Sting's challenge in this segment, right?
Right. We weren't quite sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the rest of this show after that Horseman deal was just like, I've lost interest in this. The main event, Scott Hall and Randy Savage defeated Dallas Page and Lex Luger when Scott Hall pinned Diamond Dallas Page. And those are my notes on that. Did you guys even give a shit at this point?
I wrote, how can you get a shittier team than DDP and Lex Luger?
I thought Nash and Hall, Savage and Hall were perfect together. That's the only thing I really took out of the match. I wish they would have teamed with each other more.
It was fun to see them team together, you know. And like Aaron said earlier in the show, you could tell Scott had a respect for Randy. And when you think about it, it's kind of crazy because I'm sure Nash did. I'm sure Six did. I mean, all those guys were kind of under the learning tree with Randy in the WWF in 93, 94. You know, right. Randy was still there, and he was the elder statesman, you know.
And that's where a lot of ways, like, people knock Nash or whatever. In some ways, I don't. And I know Scott Hall was Scott Hall. You know what I mean? Like, he has his demons or whatever. But where I kind of somewhat don't knock Scott Hall as much as I do like a Kevin Nash, because Scott Hall and all the shit I've ever read or seen about him was more of a wrestling guy than Kevin Nash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Scott Hall is like, yeah, man, like Savage is the dude. You know what I mean? Or do you get what I'm saying? Like, he respected what these people did.
The business,
more
absolutely.
than Kevin, where Kevin Nash is like, oh, I'm gonna make this money. Fuck this guy. Fuck that guy. I'll bury him till the end of the day. Where Scott Hall is more like, yeah, this guy kind of paved the way a little bit. You know what I mean? Like the Tito thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Scott. Yeah, Scott was most definitely, especially. I mean,
he was more of a wrestling business guy.
Yes, he started in 85,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, he came up through the territories and paying the respect and shaking the hands, and so yeah, I mean, it was always there with him, and not that he didn't,
No, he buried him. He'll bury him.
What are we, too close to Portland? Not that he didn't call a motherfucker on his bullshit, but you're right. Scott was definitely more of a thank you, brother, shake the hand, kind of guy than Nash was, and Michaels, Michaels was kind of petulant, and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, Scott was definitely the pro of the bunch.
Yeah.
We know it's crazy though, and then we will definitely sign off here. But after we give our overall, another guy in that group, we talked about the clique. Sean Waltman's another wrestling guy.
Yeah. Oh, he's even more than Scott Hall.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Sean Waltman is probably the biggest. Sean's great in the ring. Hunter's great in the ring. Scott's great in the ring. Kevin is great as a personality. Sean Waltman's probably the most respectful of the bunch, the most professional of the bunch.
Yeah. And like I told you before, Nate, like I was watching a thing on, it might have been you. I don't even know what the fuck it was. It was YouTube or the network or something, but I'm watching it and it's all the guys. It's like all the clique guys sitting around talking about different wrestlers they respect and everything. And Waltman was like, you know who I respect the most? And they were like, who? He goes, Lawler. And they were like, what? Wow. Lawler. And he's like, man, he's like, for like 40 years, Lawler's been hitting that goddamn fist drop off the fucking rope without knee pads. That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
He's the fucking man.
Good point.
Like, he's like, that's fucking nuts. And like, he talks for like 5 minutes about the greatness of Lawler. And then all of them are like, fuck, you're right. That dude's great. like Waltman was like, Lawler's one of the baddest ass dudes in the world.
Well,
narp.
In a vacuum, if I'm giving this show, this Nitro, a 1 out of 10 score, I scored a 6. It was all right.
I go to 7. It had its better moments, It wasn't a bad show.
I'd give it an 8. Like, it had a lot of good matches on it, and the historic significance of it, everything like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was. It wasn't the show I hoped everybody voted for, but it was the second one I hope they voted for.
Well, we'll do this again sometime.
And some bitches didn't vote for the Steve Austin, Vince McMahon stunner in Madison Square Garden.
Oh, idiots! Vince sold that stunner horribly. He almost died taking that stunner.
And by the end, he was immune to a stunner. It needed to take 2 or 3 to put him down.
It's one of my favorite things Jericho said. He sold it like a water bottle. Like a water bottle.
Well, that being said, we're going to wrap up this edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast, and I want to encourage any of you, all of you, to listen to any of the other shows we have here on the WrestleNet Radio Podcast Network, Archie's show, if you smell what the Arch is cooking. Of course, Reliving the Extreme with myself, Aaron, and Chad Austin, and so many other shows that you can listen to here on the network. Check them out. Want to thank you all for joining us. And it is, as we are recording this right now, it is 12:36 a.m. on November 9th. So it's coming, folks. The second year of the We Can't Wrestle Hall of Fame. We have some new panelists this year, and I'm very much looking forward to it. It's actually my favorite thing to do because I'm a geek. I'm a wrestling geek, and I love tabulating the votes and putting it together.
Don't act like you're the only one. We all are. Come on now.
Yes.
Well, I need you to send me the people that are already in it.
Oh, you know you guys are going to get a detailed fucking list of shit from me, so don't worry about that. It's coming.
Need it very
But
soon.
the ballot situation will go out right around Thanksgiving, just like it did last year, and we will have the Hall of Fame episodes coming up in December and January. So very much looking forward to that. But until then, Archie, any parting words for our listeners?
No. I think we've said it all.
Brother?
When's my favorite show coming up?
I don't think that's till June.
June? Really? Jesus.
Yeah, keep your britches on.
Oh, God. You mean the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
That's
We
my
just did it, didn't
fucking
we?
baby.
Yeah.
Archie's like, God damn, we just did one.
Yeah.
One of the matriarchs just died.
We will see everybody next time around on the We Can't Wrestle
Talking about
podcast.
Judy Bagwell.
We know
we got it.
Okay.
We got it. Good night, everybody.
Have a good week, everybody. We'll see you next time around.
R.I.P. Judy Bagwell. I love you.
On a pole.